Opening line presented by EliteSportsBetting.com, coming live on July 20th. Frank and I are here. I think first time since the All-Star break that we're back, breaking down the MLB slate, going through each game today. Frank, how was the All-Star break and the couple games afterwards? How are things going for you?
Yeah, it's been a little tough with the rotations, like trying to figure out what's going on. I took the first day after the All-Star break off. I think probably most people did because no one knew who was pitching even like the morning of. So I know that first Yankees game got canceled, but even up until then, we didn't really know who was pitching in that game either for the Yankees. So not a big deal. I think we're sort of getting back on a regular schedule, although the pitchers today are something to behold. I maybe could even make a number on about half the games, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that first day was wild. I mean, even that Yankees game, and it ended up getting postponed. The Yankees-Red Sox on Thursday. Like, the Yankees didn't announce a starter. I was on lunch money that day with CJ and Ricky, and it was like at 1:20, like during the show, they announced a starter. And the game didn't end up getting played anyway. So that's kind of how that first couple days were rough. You were right there. But as always, we are live on Twitch at Elite Betting. Hit the follow button there, and Elite Sports Network on YouTube. Live streams there as well as Periscope. If you missed the show, you want to come back later today, you can go to Twitch or YouTube and catch the replay. But all right, let's head right into it here. First game on the board, Miami and Washington. Rogers and Espino. This is pretty even across the board. -104 both sides, -105, -110, depending where you're shopping. Total is 9 with some juicy under. Trevor Rogers has been just electric, and he's getting respected by the market, being a little bit of a coin flip here on the road at Washington.
Yeah, it's a little ambitious, isn't it? This Washington lineup is much better than this Miami lineup. Washington bullpen's much better than Miami. They do have the pitching advantage. Espino is kind of still a question mark for me. 3.33 ERA, but that's 21 appearances, only 5 starts mixed in there. So, projection system's a little hard to figure out. With a lot of relief appearances in there, he's still listed as around like a 5 ERA, some even north of that. I don't think he'll be that bad, but I think this number is a little bit ambitious for a bad Miami team on the road against a pretty decent Washington team that probably won't let Espino go too long. Regardless, I kind of wrote this one off, but if I were to play anything, I think it would be the Washington at this number. We talked about home field having a bigger advantage than what most people think, and bigger advantage in all honesty than what we've seen in previous years. I don't know why that's the case. Maybe guys are like finally getting up to play for the fans now that they've come back, but we've kind of seen an aggressive home field advantage so far this year, almost around 6%.
Yeah, Espino, it is interesting that he is a guy who, like, you look at those public projection systems and it's not even close to what he's kind of shown. Now, he did struggle back in 2017. I think that's probably messing up some of his data. And this year, again, it's tough to get the relief appearances, but I would say he's probably not the bat has him as a 6.01 ERA pitcher the rest of the year, which is probably pretty high.
I mean, it's so tough. He's almost 35. He's thrown 76 career innings and 46 of them have come this year. So prior to turning 34, he's thrown 30 innings at the major league level and has been about everywhere in the league. So.
I think Rogers is great. I'm with you. I do think that if you're betting anything in this game, it should be Washington. We saw that with this opener was at -125 for Miami. That was crazy ambitious for, again, this offense on the road. Just doesn't – it's not exactly something you want to be backing at that price. Next game, Mets and Cincy. Stock against Miley. Wade Miley looks to continue his very successful 2021 season in the second half here. Reds are -141 favorites at home. Total is 10.5 juice to the over. Do you think that number is a little high with Miley being as good as he's been so far in this great American small park?
Yeah, you said it, right? I made the total 10.6. These are two really good offenses. I think that is sort of overlooked. Mets bullpen, I looked at the beginning of the season. It's a little bit shaky right now. Over the last couple of series, they haven't performed particularly great. The Reds bullpen hasn't been good in a decade. I think this number is about right, 10.5. Like I said, I made it 10.6. I don't really, other than just using sort of the projection systems for Robert Stock that are available publicly, because he doesn't really have much data for me to work with. I made this number around 145. So I don't know that I would really look to bet a game like this anyway, because Stock, I think, is getting called up today. He's been in AAA for at least most of the year. So I don't know where we're going to get there. So I wouldn't really place anyway, but given the number, I think it's pretty much spot on.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat again. Another pitcher who we don't have a lot of data on, and it's hard to make any projection that the market isn't basically making already. But yeah, Miley, 2.80 ERA. He does have a 3.6 xERA, which is still, pretty good. 3.24 FIP. So he's, probably in somewhere that low to mid 3 range. He's 53% ground balls. He's just such an interesting pitcher. Like when I watch him, I'm just like, there's nothing really special about him, but 32.4% hard hit rate.
He needs an unjuiced ball, right? Like that's in a weird way. He needs his long fly balls to stay in the park.
Yeah, he's never. It's crazy. He's never really gotten hit hard. His big issue was like some years his control got a little crazy, and he's never been a big strikeout guy, which kind of limits you. But 4.8% barrel rate and 32.4% hard hit rate is gonna play in the current state of the ball. But I'm with you. I think this line's pretty fair. I make this number closer to 10, but again, with the Stock, I have no idea. I'm not really trying to get involved with a total. And like you said, both of these bullpens, Edwin Diaz, 3 straight blown saves for the Mets, which is crazy because he is like absolutely lights out or just gives up a random home run like to Jacob Stallings the other night. But interesting how that connected to Pittsburgh there. But next game on the board, Padres at Braves. Darvish against Mueller. Darvish a -161 favorite on the road. Total in this game is 9, with slightly shaded towards that under. Again, another guy here, Mueller, that we don't have a ton of data on here, but what's your feelings on this game?
Yeah, again, another guy. This is what's making this slate so tough. Like I made the Padres like a small favorite, but it's almost pointless to sort of look at this number. Another AAA guy, he's got 15 innings pitched, 3.45 ERA, 2.35 expected, 2.98 FIP. Looks like a high strikeout, high walks guy. I think if you're playing anything, again, we said this Washington, I think it's the home team here at a pretty hefty dog price in a lineup that is underperformed and has been very hot and cold with the Braves. Padres team is certainly turning it on, but I just want to mention Darvish hasn't looked as good lately, and we've seen about a 400 or 500 RPM drop off, some of the highest drop off we've seen from anyone since the early June memo that went out that stopped guys from cheating as much. So he's definitely a guy I think we both would have said that relies on spin rate to get outs. It's looking that way for him right now, and it's looking like he's had quite a big drop off. So if you're going to bet games involving Darvish, it's maybe wait and see what happens, because we've seen Garrett Cole struggle and has since turned it on, right? Like I fully believe that like the best pitchers will figure it out. It's almost like the Jordan Spieth kind of effect, where like, he may have stunk for a couple years, and I don't think they'll stink for a couple years, but he will figure it out because he's a generational talent, and a hard worker and all that. So guys like Darvish and Cole, I think will figure it out, but it's definitely something to be concerned about. It if you're backing Darvish at this point. I think you need to tread lightly.
Yeah, I think, hopefully it's not a 3-year hiatus like Jordan Spieth took. But
I don't think it will.
Hopefully it's 1 month. But I do think that's an interesting point. Definitely with the All-Star break happening when it did, for guys who didn't go to the game or anything like that, you kind of have to figure it out again. You kind of have to hit the reset button for a month or so. And we've seen Giolito's kind of got back into his groove. He had some numbers go down. I know Cease for them as well, kind of the same thing. And Cole, he had that 9 shutout against the Astros, I think it was that right? 13 Ks. He might have just, like you said, he's one of the best talents, arm talents in the game. You kind of have to reset. You're figuring out how to, you throw one way and then they take something away. that you kind of have to reprogram yourself in a way. So
Right.
I do think that. But Darvish, like you said, last outing against the Nationals got roped. He got roped against Philly. He's been kind of up and down. One of those starts is in Coors, so it is tough. But it is something to watch with any of the guys that have had some spin rate drops. But yeah, same boat for me. Atlanta, I think, has the value as well. But I don't know if I really want to back Muller because I don't know too much about him here. So
Sure.
Next game is Cubs and Cardinals. That is off the board as the Cardinals have not announced starter yet. So we're just going to skip ahead to our Pirates. Tyler Anderson on the mound in Arizona against Widener, starting for the Diamondbacks. Pretty even game across the board here. Diamondbacks minus 106, minus 110 in that range. Excuse me. Total in this game is 9, juice to the under. You like a side in this game. Tell us why you like that side.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep dying with the Pirates here. They're up 6-0 the other day, and I bet them. They lost 7-6 in just awful fashion. 6 runs in the first inning. We saw the funny. Sure, you all saw the funny Taijuan Walker play.
Yeah.
Without context, that people don't realize that we're taught to do that. Without the context there, it's kind of funny. It's just kind of a bonehead play, considering how close the ball was to the line. But all that said, I think even money here with Arizona, and I know they're on the road. This seems to be like a mini Coors sticking point for them. They're much better at home, but I do think this number's a little bit ambitious for Taylor Widener, right? He's just not that good. For all intents and purposes, I think Tyler Anderson's about a league average pitcher. I don't think there's anything particularly great. I've faded him a few times when he was pitching well. When he was pitching poorly, I tend to back him, right? I think he rebounds nicely and figures it out. He gets a lot of balls in play, but because he doesn't really walk anyone, his strikeouts around 20%, but he also doesn't get hit hard very often. Sort of a lefty change up cutter guy in this Arizona lineup. I don't think brings really anything to the table. They lost last night at Arizona. Long trip for them. You kind of see that, and that's why home field sort of matters and exists. But going back to Widener, 6 starts on the season. He's pitched to a 2.54 ERA. His expected ERA is 5.84. His FIP is 5.08. So he's done a really good job of getting lucky on BABIP. He's stranded 90% of the runners on base. We've talked about the Pirates lineup, and in the Pirates in general, when they have average to decent starts, they're going to win some games, right? They've gone on a few runs this season where the bats have gotten hot, and they have 2 starting all-stars on this team. Brian Hayes could win Rookie of the Year, right? We're seeing a lot of guys that can play on this team, and up until they trade these guys, which they inevitably will, whether it's the news is they won't trade Reynolds, he's got 4 years left. Frazier's a goner. Stallings, someone might blow them away for him. They're going to trade Rich Rod and some relievers. Until they blow it up, this team is probably a little bit underrated because of some injuries. Asal Moran was on the field yesterday. Maybe he gets activated today. Regardless, this number, I think, is a little bit ambitious for a really bad Arizona team who definitely has the worst pitcher on the mound.
Yeah. Widener, it's kind of funny. He's pitched on the road for every one of his starts but one. And one of those was in Coors where he only went an inning and 2/3 and faced 11 batters while giving up no runs, no earned runs. So he could, his numbers could be worse.
Injured. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what happened there. They had an error because he had an unearned run and he had 2 walks. But he did miss some time, and he came back with the Dodgers. Went 4 1/3, only gave up a run, which is, kind of impressive. But again, his 5.25 FIP in that game, like you said, he's been lucky. You're getting the better pitcher here, like you said, with Anderson. The only thing is they're not they're not to the extent that the Rockies are with the 9-34 that the Rockies are, but 11-38, and that included a 22 or 23 game losing streak, whatever it was. 17-30 at home, so better, but still not a good team. The Pirates aren't very good on the road either, but like you said, we say this every time. That Pirates lineup is not easy to get through. That top 5, top half of that lineup. The bottom half, you do start to go off, but Nogowski's been a pretty
he's hitting 422.
He's like, I was gonna say for
the Pirates.
Yeah, he was 14 of 29 at one point. Gamble's been good as well. Like he's a guy that they could ship out as well.
He's gonna
So
get traded. Defoe's hitting all these home runs.
yeah. So again, these guys they're kind of putting it in, and we've said this time and time again. If you get this, and you said it here, if Tyler Anderson has a good start, and you can get to these good arms in the bullpen. The games, if Tyler Anderson only goes 3 or 4, you're going to probably be in trouble because they're going to throw some gas cans out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure this sounds ridiculous saying all of this out loud, but like Adam Frazier was a starting all-star. Brian Reynolds is a starting all-star. They're WRC plus 132, 145, and they're good defenders. The big hang up for them is like guys like Newman and Plonka have been horrible, but Stallings above average WRC plus. He's at 103 for a catcher, and he's one of the best defensive catchers in all of baseball, maybe the best defensive catcher in baseball. And then you go down to Gamble, 113 WRC plus, Moran 109, Cabrian Hayes 115. Defoe 118, Nagowski's like 170. I mean, that's going to come down, but like these guys, they've hit the ball all year. Yeah. They just need the right lineup configuration and to put it all together. And the middle of the bullpen is very bad, and they need to stop blowing games. But you might get some ambitious numbers on the Pirates for the next week or two until Frazier goes and all these other guys go.
Yeah, they're currently on pace for 62-ish wins, which is higher than what they. I saw someone told us at the beginning of the year was like 59, and they had a ton of injuries. Like we forget that, right? Like, so when we talked about early in the year, this team can surprise, and we kind of saw that for a little bit. They had a decent start, and I think actually they had a really bad start. Then they turned it on. But yeah, until these guys get traded and this team gets kind of cut up, I do agree. I think you're going to see some ambitious numbers, definitely when they play at home. So Frank is on the Pirates there at -101. Had to pay a little bit more than that now, but still in the range there. If you
I actually played plus 105, but then it moved right away, so I did adjust that number down. I would still play it -105. In all honesty, I think the Pirates are decent favorites here.
Yeah. Next game, San Francisco at the Dodgers. The Dodgers do not have a starter listed, so we'll skip this game. Angels and A's are the next one. Suarez going against Kaprelian. Kaprelian a -146, -150 favorite. Total in this game is 9, -113 juice to the under. I was on Oakland yesterday, got some nice CLV against my boy Ohtani. They won that game. A little dicey, got a little close at the end, but Oakland just keeps winning games, and they're -150 favorite against the Angels here. What do you have in this one?
Yeah, I didn't. Let me see here. I made this 150, so I just want to check my number. I didn't have an opinion on this game. 9.1 runs for me on average, so pretty much bang on here. I believe this number, the total was sitting around 9, right? Yeah. So juice 9, a little bit juice to the under. So maybe a little bit of like the over a little bit. Suarez has been decent. 229 ERA, 397 expected. That's 2 starts out of 11 appearances. So how long is he going to go? I don't really know. I would be surprised if he got any sort of real long length. It looks like he pitched 5 in his last start against Seattle. That was 9 days ago. So they might be a little bit cautious about ramping him up. I would be surprised if those guys are throwing like 50 pitches during the All-Star break. So sorry. I don't see Suarez going more than 4 or 5. Kaprelian has been great, 290 ERA. 409 expected, 440 FIP. I think that FIP's a little bit ambitious. He's given up a lot of solo home runs. I don't think he'll continue to get hit as hard as he has been. The walks have crept up for him a little bit, but 26% Ks will go a long way for Kaprelian as he continues to figure it out. Young guy, obviously. So I like Kaprelian a lot. If anything, I think you might see a little bit of Oakland money just because I think he's a little better than what the projections are sort of making him, and I still made this game around 150. So no edge for me here, but I do think this is a good game to watch with 2, guys that have been a little bit underrated so far this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Oakland has a little bit of value. I don't know if a little bit of value, but they're the side that's more likely to get money. Suarez, it is tough. He did go 5 1/3 in relief this before he started the last 2 games, but he did have a start that only went 3 innings. So I think you're right. I think like 4 is probably, the average start for him today. Which again, the bullpen, since the memo has gone out, bullpens have just been a complete nightmare. So that's not, it's not something you want to really get involved with But yeah, Kaprelian's been great. Like you said, the 26% Ks, you're going to be able to walk a little bit more. He does get hit a little bit hard, gives up some barrels, but he does have the luxury of playing in a pretty big park, so that helps him. But I'm with you. I think Oakland is the side here that does see some money if we see some come in here. Boston at Toronto. This game is, I don't know. Did you run this? This was off the board. It's kind of popping up.
Yeah. Thomas Hatch apparently going for Toronto. I know Manoah was maybe listed, but now Hatch is going on. I'm not sure what happened there.
That was on the IL. They put him on the IL last night.
No real point. I don't think in playing this. So I made like Toronto minus 150, but I'll just mention Garrett Richards being horrible, and he relied on being the highest spin rate guy in all of baseball, and he's lost like 600 RPMs on fastballs and curveballs or sliders, whatever he throws, and now he's even worse. So I mean, no matter who you're starting here, like Garrett Richards at plus 120 is it's probably pretty ambitious against this Toronto team. It's probably gonna hit 2 or 3 home runs today. Yeah,
it's crazy with the Red Sox lineup. Toronto's been good as well, but 11.5. I don't know. I feel like that seems low too, just because Richards is on the mound. Like Toronto seems like they're going to probably get like 7 themselves at the very least. But skipping that one, Baltimore and Tampa Bay staying in the AL East. John Means returns against Shane McClanahan. McClanahan a minus 200 favorite, total 7.5 or 8, juiced one way, depending where you're shopping. John Means is back. We went on the IL. We haven't been able to talk about. We loved him, and then he threw a no-hitter, and he got overpriced. But what do you think? What's your outlook since he was away for some time? How are you going about this game with him coming off the long stint on the IL?
Yeah, I'm avoiding it, but I would definitely say that if he's full go, this number's high. Like it is high. 2.28 ERA on the season. I don't think he's that good, but when you don't walk anyone, you definitely give yourself a chance. Especially with how much weak contact that he gets and how many strikes that he throws, you give yourself a chance to pitch really well. 37% hard hit rate, 5% walks. That'll go a long way in Major League Baseball when the ball really isn't carrying. I think Shane McClanahan has gotten a lot of maybe worthwhile or deserved respect in the market. Being a lefty who throws 100 miles per hour outside of DeGrom, he's the next guy that throws 100 pretty consistently. I think if I were playing this, if you twist my arm and told me I had to play something, I would definitely play Baltimore at such high vig, because you can invest very little and make a lot on a number that's almost 2-1 in their favor. Now, like I said, I think you lose this game on average, but if John Means is healthy, this number I think is a little bit high. I just couldn't really play it because of that.
Yeah, I did go ahead and play it. The Orioles hit left-handed pitching very well. They're like top 5 in the league,
and they have a lot of righties that can hit hard throwers as well. Mountcastle,
like
what's that was on derby guy?
Yeah, Mancini,
and Mullins. Like they have guys that can hit left-handers. Yeah,
it's going to be Mullins at the top as your lefty, and then 8 righties filling after after that. And shout out to MLB Dream here, but Hayes, Mancini, Mountcastle, Santander, like not a horrible option there. Like for
as a huge dog,
yeah. So that's if they would have been facing a righty from the Rays, I probably would have skipped this because of the uncertainty with Means. I do think like I've seen 90 pitches. Is where they're trying to like kind of land him, which is good enough for me because I kind of like the idea that he won't, like if he's pitching really well, they might like 6 innings and he's at 80 pitches, they might just say like, all right, let's just go to the bullpen or something. So I did like that, but again, with the matchup against the lefties, I'll gladly take the Orioles at plus 178.
So I just filtered by lefties just to see Baltimore's 6th best ever C plus in all of baseball against left-handers this season. Again, I don't think it's crazy to understand why, right? Like they're just awful against right-handers because they have one decent lefty in that lineup. Right. And Tampa Bay, who's a very good hitting team against right-handers, you look at lefties though, 90 WRC plus. That's 24th best in all of Major League Baseball. So
they have a ton of lefties.
Like, and you're getting a decent lineup discrepancy here.
Yeah, that's where that was the big thing. I think I would have probably left this off at this price. I mean, this is ticked up just like a little bit over 180. So like the price is still out there at some places. But, you know, I saw the pitch count for Means. They're trying to land him around 90. I thought that was enough for me to, you know, be confident that he's going to be out there. And I'll take the Orioles.
And I think it's probably safe to assume that they wouldn't risk his future in any way. ARB eligible in 2022, so like he's got some time on that team if they plan on being decent in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting because they kind of have turned around. You can kind of see them like making the right choices. Like I think Mancini could be an option for them to trade. You know, they'll be an interesting, but it's the same thing. I think these teams, Orioles against lefties, Pirates in general, you could see some prices definitely. Like we were on the Orioles. I mean, how many we bet John Means like 5 straight starts to start the year until
and then you bet no hitter. Yeah.
Because we were like, this guy's good, and like he's being priced because the Orioles are so bad.
The same thing happened with Wade Miley. Like I just wish that they just would have let up a hit or two, and it would have been a lot better.
Yeah. And that's so funny. It's so true. But
just give up like a solo home run when it's 5-0, and I can bet you for like the rest of the year. Yeah.
Right. Win 4-1 and then go there. Pierce, like your guys' take on baseball. Thanks for repeating it. Thanks for hanging out with us, Pierce. Pierce is watching on YouTube at Elite Sports Network. If you want to head over there. Next game, Texas at Detroit. Dane Dunning and Tariq Skubal, 2 guys that I've really struggled to kind of figure out this year. They've kind of been up and down. Skubal minus 118 at home, and total in this game is 8.5, which juice the over. Dane Dunning, like he's had some really good starts where I feel like he's in total control of like the strike zone and he's commanding everything. And then there's starts where he just looks really, really poor. Tariq Skubal was like the worst pitcher in baseball to start the year, and now he's kind of like turning into like he's been like an average pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on these 2 guys? Are you as confused as I am, or what's going on here?
Yeah, I think so. I like part of the Dunning issue is that he throws a lot of fastballs, which he generally throws a lot of strikes. That number, the walks have gone up a little bit for him as we've gone on here. Maybe because he's throwing too many fastballs. He throws a lot of edge pitches, which can allow yourself to get vulnerable to walks. And if you don't hit those edge pitches and you throw a lot of fastball, you could have a lot of bad variance and just bad results go your way. You could also have really good results when the BABIP is sort of going your way. But if you look at him on the season, 361 BABIP, right? Like that, that's sort of the hang up. I think he'll be quite a bit better than what he is, but even as he is, he's probably slightly better than average major league pitcher so far this season. Skubal is the guy early on in the season where he was the total fade because he was giving up so many home runs. He stopped giving up home runs, and it's like, oh, there's a novel thought, right? Like maybe I should just stop giving up homers. I also want to point out the Tigers are 44-51. Did you know that?
Yeah,
that was a team last year that we said was better than what people thought. For whatever reason, I don't watch a lot of Tigers games, but just statistically, they were better than what people thought. Kind of reminded me of a Giants situation going on here, where we were like, "Oh, the Giants are better than we thought." This Tigers team started like 9-31, and now they're 44-51. Yeah, that's pretty good. They've been one of the better teams in baseball beyond like the first month of the season. So I think they deserve a little bit more respect. I was actually going to play the Tigers in this game. We've talked about their ability to switch hit like 7 guys out of the 9 in the lineup, and how much of an advantage that is to always have the platoon split and always being able to, an underrated side, always being able to counter the reliever coming in. If you had 2 out of 3 lefties coming up or 3 out of 4 lefties coming up, you could really combat that, right? And now guys can. Like this Rangers team won't be able to platoon a start or a reliever out there to go against guys because they're just going to stand on the other side of the plate. I think that makes them a little bit better, maybe a little bit of an inefficiency in baseball. Just like hold on to all your switch hitters if you can, I guess. Yeah. And always have a platoon advantage. I don't think that's a bad idea, especially for a team that maybe can't go out and get the best hitters in the world. So I did like the Tigers a little bit. What scared me off is there's a decent chance of rain in this game, like 30-40% today. So I didn't end up playing it, but I think if you're playing anything here, I think it's Detroit.
Yeah, I played Detroit at minus 112. Skubal. Nice.
I thought you were going to say you played Texas.
It's weird. As much as I've hated Skubal to start the year, like he's turned to where Dunning has always been like, I can't figure him out. Like you said, I think it's too much of a fastball problem, and he's susceptible to just getting kind of lucked out there.
Right.
But I look at Skubal and like 409 Woba in March and April. Like that's like Rocky pitcher on the road, essentially. In May, 324 Woba. Like, okay, you're getting that. June, he had a 293 Woba. Now, July and 11 innings, he hasn't been good, but I'm not going to really use that. But he something kind of clicked. I don't know. Again, young guy, high prospect, like big time prospect. Like, sometimes these things go through. And we saw this with Casey Mize. Like, he kind of struggled, and then he's turned it around. Like, AJ Hinch, we all said we know he's a good coach or manager. Like, is he, figuring these things out? I don't know. Like, are there changes to a grip he made? Whatever. Like he, maybe he was trying to throw too hard because, he's trying to impress because he's up in the majors. Last year he was up, but this year being his first full season, who knows what happened, but he's been good. Dunning has been struggling. And like you said, this Tigers lineup has like some decent, Akil Baddoo has been great for them. He's a lefty. He's going to have, advantage against Dunning today, but like Robbie Grossman has been solid for them, but like you said, they just have like, they're going to have, I think, 3 switch hitters in the lineup today, a couple more lefties in there. So, it's an advantage here for Dunning now. And then on the flip side, like Skubal's a lefty. So like they're going to have Gallo's going to play, Nate Lau's going to play. It runs in, you do run into issues here. Like when you're a team that has some lefties that automatically play, like again, you're not getting that platoon advantage on the flip side. So I would play Detroit up to like the -120 range. So you're still, it's ticked up to like -115, -120. That's probably about the highest I would go. But I think Detroit has the value here. And I'm sure Skubal will give up 4 home runs.
I just feel like there's constant. I don't want to say constant because every situation you have to evaluate the situation based on the events that are going on in the game, right? Like in the starting lineups and in the pitching matchups. But just in a general sense, like the Pirates, this Tigers team is like legitimately pretty good. All of a sudden,
we said this. The Tigers and the Pirates were kind of that same team. You could go back and look at the broadcast of the opening line back in early April. We were saying like this Tigers offense kind of has some like, they don't have any great hitters, but they have like some just average guys. Like I don't think people realize like if you just have a lineup full of average guys, like you're an average offense. Like, your 15th best offense. Like people thought the Tigers were going to be the worst team in not the worst team in baseball, but one of the worst teams in baseball. And if you have an average offense, it's kind of impossible to be one of the worst teams in baseball because you're gonna put up some
every
runs.
Now and again you're gonna score 5 or 6 runs.
Yeah, like game. Eric Haas has been fantastic for him. Like Candelario's been good. Like they have guys that can hit the ball.
4, 5, 6 games better than 2 other teams in their division.
Right. That brought that up with the standings. On May 6th, they were 9-23.
That's right. 9-23.
Yeah, 9-23 on May 6th. That's how bad the Tigers were. My best friend from high school was a Tigers fan, and he was just like in depression because like it doesn't get any worse than that. But since then, 35 and 28. Pretty good number there for the Tigers as they only sit 9.5 back in the wild card. So like, hot streak, all of a sudden you're kind of like they win 6 in a row here. Now you're like, are we buyers? They're not going to be, but it's a thing where if they like play well and
if anything, it's probably going to enhance their selling ability.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. It'll be like the Marlins last year where they kind of just like mess around and like find themselves like sneaking into the playoffs here. Like, wow, we just never lost. Like it just never happened. But next game on the board, Indians at Astros. Tristan McKenzie against Luis Garcia. Garcia -180 favorite at home. Total in this game is 9. Tristan McKenzie is our guy who just completely forgot how to throw strikes in 2021 after we thought he was going to be a pretty interesting prospect for the Indians. What is your take on this game involving him?
I was going to play Houston at -172. I made this game closer to 200. And if you really want to play Houston, I think you still can. Luis Garcia and all of these guys on Houston just randomly really good. Luis Garcia kind of being chief among them. But big but here. If Tristan McKenzie has figured it out, which his last 2 starts in the minors were really good. His last start against the Royals, who are terrible, was really good. 9 strikeouts, 1 walk or no walks. If he continues to do this, we know how good he can be. This is sort of like going back to the Jordan Speed thing is talking about. Like if he somehow doesn't have the yips anymore pitching, doesn't have Steve Blass syndrome, I think that this number is probably right, or maybe even too high. It just depends on what you're going to get from McKenzie. So if you guys can figure that out, you can make your bet based on that. So you could play Cleveland if you think that Tristan McKenzie is back. And if you think he's not, and he's going to continue to walk 15, 16, 70% of hitters, then I think you're playing Houston. I don't really have an idea because I watched that last start, and I think I had the over in that game, and he was brilliant, and it ruined my over. So I don't want to play this unless I have an idea on McKenzie, who has been historically really good. And just touching back on Luis Garcia, he throws about 93, 94, can get it up there, 95, 96 sometimes, which isn't overly hard. I feel like a lot of guys can do that. But he's striking out 28% of hitters this season, which is just absolutely incredible. 6% barrels, doesn't walk that many. He's been absolutely really good. And we're seeing Houston kind of do this with almost everybody, like your Urquidy, Garcia. There's a few other guys that you guys probably don't even know exist that are very good starters for Houston. So it looks like McCullers getting back and healthy, and he looks good. So, this Houston team is certainly something to reckon with. If Tristan McKenzie's as bad as he's been, this number's short. But again, if he's back and he's pitching well, we know how good and electric he can be.
Yeah, it's Tristan McKenzie is just weird. He skipped a start. I think he went down, and they brought him back. I don't know if they had some injuries, and they threw him in there. June 12th against the Mariners, he walked 4 guys. He only faced 6 batters. They pulled him. They were just like, "You're done. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
You're going back down.
You're
figuring it
back
out."
down. Yeah.
Yeah. And he went down for about a month. Like you said, that starting against the Royals, 7 innings. He faced 23 batters, gave him 1 hit, 1 walk, 9 Ks. Like, you obviously take that every single day. But like you said, if he is on, like we saw this last year, like in 33 innings, he had a strikeout rate of 33, walks 7. He never had a walking problem in the minors. Like this year was just, I don't know what happened. Like it just, and these things do happen. There was a guy I played with in college who just lost the ability to throw strikes one year.
Same way I played with a guy who did the same thing.
Right. Like he was literally, we were throwing in a batting cage, and like the ball, like it wasn't to the point, at least McKenzie was like kind of near the plate. Like he was hitting like the batting cage. Like he just lost, he lost his release point. This
same exact thing for us. Yeah.
Like I don't know if for anybody watching, like Jared Saltalamacchia, he couldn't throw the ball. Remember, he couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher. Like he literally like had to take like a year off essentially from being a major league catcher, because he literally and he still had problems later in his career. You could tell like he was like, there you go.
Figured out how to get it back.
Right. Like, but that, if he had to throw a guy out towards second, he'd throw it, 95 miles per hour right on the bag. It's just the mind is
like Lester has this problem. We see a lot of guys, a lot of pitchers have this problem because you go to throw a ball right as hard as you can pretty consistently, and then you have to like pick up this bunt and lob it over to first, and it's really hard to train your body to slow down, right? It's a hard thing to do.
It's totally different mechanics. Like you have a leg kick, and then like when you're throwing to first, it's like a lot of times you're kind of throwing flat-footed or taking a short step, like totally different thing. Speaking of John Lester, did you see his home run last night?
Bomb. What the hell was that?
419.
How was that?
He was the laughing stock of like when he went to the Cubs there for a while, and he just hit 419. Literal bomb from John Lester.
Flip the ball to first base, but he hits 419-foot home.
Right. I think that he's hit a ball further now than Kevin Newman ever has in his career. Twins at White Sox. We both like a side in this one. Ober versus Keuchel. Keuchel minus 137 at home. Total in this game is 9.5. The Twins are finally at the point where they are going to have to sell. But like we've mentioned with some teams earlier, there's some value on these teams that are bad and are about to sell up until they sell, and the Twins have not sold yet. So what do we like in this game?
Yeah, we talked about Baltimore against lefties. The Twins are 107 WC plus 7th place, right behind Baltimore in hitting lefties. Chicago also very good, but they won't be getting lefty, right? Over is right-handed, I believe. Yeah, he is right-handed. He's 6'9", 260 pounds. This guy has potential. He hasn't pitched particularly great overall, but he's either thrown shutouts or he's given up like 4 or 5 runs. This is the third time he'll face Chicago. All of that said, I think Keuchel's over the hill, and I think this number is high. Like you said, on these bad teams, I played Minnesota plus 130. Has that since come down? 126. 126. I think you can still play Still play that, I believe. There is a little bit of disadvantage to oh, you got him too. All right, cool. There's a little bit of disadvantage to pitching to a team like 3 times in your first 7 or 8 starts in Major League Baseball. But I'll take over Keuchel just on the sheer chance that Keuchel gets lit up. Keuchel is very bad. He doesn't strike anyone out, and there will be a ton of balls in play. That's why we see big BABIP discrepancies with him. He's like either like BABIP of 200 or 500, right? Like it's a very random mix. Even the walks for him, I think, are escalated a little bit this season. He's just over the hill, and he's not really going to do much. I do think the baseball benefits these guys like Wade Miley, like John Lester, like Dallas Keuchel, to make them a little bit better than what they perceive to be. But I'll take this Twins lineup mashing against lefties so far this season, despite the bad fortunes, mostly of their bullpen and of some back end starter issues. I will take Bailey Ober with the upside here to throw well compared to Keuchel's basic chance to just put up like a 6 spot here pretty quickly. So I think there is some value on the Twins here on the road.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins, the problem has been the offense, right? Like the offense, they've scored 431 runs this year. Like, for instance, the White Sox, everybody talks about great. The White Sox, they have 478. Like, they're obviously worse, but not that, not considerably. Yeah. They're right there with they're behind Tampa Bay. Like they're probably, 7th about average in the AL for a team who's, what are they, 14 games under 500. You expect a lot worse. The problem.
The stadium, their stadium plays a little bit small, but they have the 3rd most home runs in Major League Baseball this season. Yeah. One of those teams ahead of them being Toronto, who has hit 8 more home runs. They've also had the benefit of playing in minor league stadiums that are considerably shorter, and they also have guys that obviously mash, but they've certainly had the benefit of playing in those stadiums. The other team, the 2nd most home runs this season, the San Francisco Giants.
Oh yeah,
playing in the biggest stadium in all of baseball. The Twins are certainly, and we talk about the Giants analytically, right? And the Twins are up there as well. They've just sort of had some bad fortune, some injuries. But yeah, this team does mash. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so again, we'll go with like Keuchel in the lineup. Now, they do have some lefties like Kepler will play, Kirilloff and Larnach are probably going to play just because they're young guys and you want to get them at bats at this point. But Polanco, he's going to have a platoon advantage. Nelson Cruz is probably the best hitter against lefties. I think his
decade.
Right. I think his WOBA last year was like 538 against lefties or something stupid. Josh Donaldson mashes lefties. Mitch Garver mashes. Like, so Miguel Sano, like he mashes left-handed pitching. Like it's just he strikes out 40% of the time. So I'm with this is kind of the like big time power offense versus a ground ball pitcher, and Keuchel has been getting barreled. So like if he does have mistakes today, I think some pitches can be hit over the fence, and that's where I'm going. To like this 130 number is kind of I think ambitious. And again, I'll go through this lineup. Like Brian Goodwin, Larry Garcia's like slated to hit in the middle of that lineup today, which is I don't know why they don't put up like Gavin Sheets or Andrew Vaughn. Like Zach Collins even like deserves to be hitting before Garcia. But a lot of these young guys that for the White Sox, like the more and more we see, the more and more the book's going to be out on them. Maybe we'll find some, spots that they can't hit because they are getting some contributions from the young guys there. But Keuchel, we saw against the Tigers, the team that we talk about platoon advantage. Last 7 runs in 4 innings. He faced the Orioles. I bet the Orioles in this game, and the Orioles hit. I think they had a home run. They had a home run called back because it hit like an inch below the fence. Like all these things, like it's just one of those games that everything kind of went right for Keuchel. And I think we're seeing this price get overvalued here. So I'll take the Twins and their bombers against Keuchel here.
Since I'm just looking it up now, since 2012, Nelson Cruz has hit 20 more home runs against left-handed pitching than anyone else in the league. So over the last decade, he's hit 99 home runs. Kyle Seager has hit 79 against lefties, which I find that's incredibly interesting.
Would not have guessed that at all. Yeah. But yeah, Nelson Cruz of like 442 WOBA this year against lefties. Last year, 586. I was low. 586 WOBA against lefties last year. That's just absolutely just the dumbest thing you'll ever hear in baseball. Like that's better than peak Bond. So Phillies at Yankees. Nola against Herman. The Yankees, this the starting pitchers that they've just been throwing out there. I don't know. This team's in shambles. Phillies are minus 127 favorites on the road. Total in this game is 9. Aaron Nola, you're going to look at his ERA and you're going to think like, oh, he hasn't been that good this year. But is he a victim to being unlucky this year, in your opinion?
He is, but he also hasn't been that good. Like, can I say both of those?
Yeah.
Things?
Yep.
Like,
yep. I totally agree.
Like, he hasn't been the Aaron Nola that we've seen over the course of his career, but he's also been unlucky. I think it's a fair assessment. The walks are always good with him. The strikeouts are always up. He's just getting hit harder. Like, what made him an elite pitcher is that he can pitch to like a 3 or 4% barrel rate. And this year it's at 7%. Is that bad? No. But is it peak Aaron Nola? No. So he's getting hit a little bit harder and more consistently. The strikeouts are maybe a little bit down from last year, but they're still higher than his career number. The walks are always good. He has off the charts movement, and he has been unlucky. I don't want to say that he's been like drastically worse. Like he's been slightly worse maybe than what his the last few seasons have been, which happens over the course of a career. But this is sort of his unlucky season. That being said, I do like the Yankees here. Like this number seems a little bit off to me. The only thing that is the hang up here is Domingo Germán had been starting all year, and now he's thrown 3 innings, 2 innings, and 1 innings in his last 3 last 3 appearances. So he's been pitching out of the bullpen. I would be surprised again. Like, he hasn't started a game, and even that start was 3 innings against the Angels. I don't know if he's having issues, arm issues to where like he's getting sore or whatever. And they're because he was getting full slated starts after he got ramped up at the beginning of the season, and even his more recent starts have been 3-4 innings. So that's sort of the hang up here for me. I think if we were getting a full start from Domingo Germán, then there would be some value on the Yankees, but I just can't bet this game knowing that this guy may only pitch 2, 3, 4 innings. That creates a lot of issues for the Yankees bullpen, where in the back end they have had some struggles.
Yeah, when I saw Germán listed, I basically wrote this game off because I don't know. He could go 5, he could go 6, he could go 2. Like I had no idea what they're kind of doing with him. They were gonna start him that Thursday game, and he was on like 3 or 4 days rest. I don't know what they're doing. 1 point on Nola, and I want to bring this up because Gabe Kapler is doing so well in San Francisco, and Philly ran him out of town because he was too forward thinking for them. First time through the order for Nola this year, a 306 WOBA. Second time through, 296 WOBA. Third time through, 369 WOBA. So he's basically, and I remember I have friends who are Phillies fans, and they would flip out because Nola would be at 5 innings. His pitch count would be like 85, or like not even that high. And he'd go like 1 run, like 8 Ks, and they'd pull him. Kapler would pull him. He'd be like, "What are we doing here?" And then now we're seeing it. Like you stretch him too far, and I bring this up all the time.
They're forced to, Well,
the bullpen is poor. There's not much you can do. But it's one of those things where like I don't think he's as. I don't know if he's worse than he's not his lights out self, but I think it's one of the things where if you're consistently, we saw this with Jameson Taillon. At the end of his tenure with Pittsburgh, was he would pitch great for 6 innings, and then they try to get that 7th inning out of him. I bring him up all the time because I'm still scarred by I forget the one, like he gave up like a 3-run bomb in Cincinnati, and I'm just like it was like the 3rd game in a row. But that you can get your numbers skewed because your manager doesn't know when to pull you, and you're trying to be stretched too far. And I know the Phillies have a problem because their bullpen's tough, but that's something to be said with the Yankees here. He gets a little tired. He has that slider. He hangs it. All of a sudden, it's 10 rows deep in that short park. So there is some issues there. But I'm with you. I think Germán, if he was getting full start, I think this number is probably closer to a pick 'em. But again, have no idea what we're getting out of him. Kansas City at Milwaukee, Minor against Lauer. Lauer a minus 165 favorite at home. It's kind of crazy to me to thinking Mike Minor is like a plus 150 dog on the road. But over is juiced heavily at 9. This came down a little bit from 9.5. Everything's off of 9.5 now. I played under 9.5. Mike Minor's been a little bit unlucky. He hasn't been great, but he's not to his like 5 whatever ERA is at. And Eric Lauer's been pretty good. So I'll go with that. Both of these offenses, we talked time and time again about Kansas City being a boom or bust. They have some guys that can hit the ball out of the park, but outside of that, they're not going to do too much. And the Brewers offense, even though with Yelich being back, he hasn't been great, but the lineup's been a little bit better.
Yeah,
I'm not too excited about both of these offense. I like both matchups for both pitchers here.
Yeah, Brewers trending nicely here. I was pretty much mid-price on side and total for this game. Brewers trending nicely at 114 WRC plus over the last 30 days. I don't think that's going to continue. I think they're just peaking, right? I don't think there's any reason to suspect that this team is, Willie Adames is just going to be like an amazing hitter all of a sudden. I don't really see that continuing. So, without a play on this side at all, but I do think both these pitchers are pretty decent. Both these lineups are pretty boom or bust. So I agree with you.
Yeah, at 9.5. I got at minus 114. That number's ticked down. I mean, it's like the same.
I would have liked that number, but
yeah,
unfortunately, I didn't get it. Yeah.
It's still similar. Like the 9 plus 104 is probably like not that different. It's just you lose that with that push. There's probably still some value at that under 9 plus 104. But if you have any books who are late and they see a 9.5, I just don't see any listed right now. I think 9.5. Pretty much at any number is probably pretty good. But Lauer, nobody, I feel like people don't really notice. Like, I'll start with Minor. 5.67 ERA. He's been bad. 4.60 ERA, 4.36 FIP. Isn't good either, but like a full run over, that's just, you're getting to the point where we're at the point.
If I asked you what Mike Minor was going to pitch to the season, you would have been like, I don't know, 4.30.
Right. Yeah, like I don't. And last year it was the same thing. 56, he had 5.56 ERA. Like maybe there's something that's being missed there. It's just usually it doesn't happen that way.
I think it's get luck. Yeah,
right. Yeah, usually you can kind of overperform. It's really hard to underperform by that much. But Eric Lauer, like same kind of thing. 3.83 ERA, 4.2 xERA. Now his FIP is a lot worse. He's given up some home runs, but. Yeah, he doesn't get hit hard. 31% hard hit rate. He does have the barrel rate there, but lefty. He's again another guy who's just kind of a crafty pitcher in there. I like the matchup for both pitchers here today. Like you said, I don't think the Brewers are going to continue to be one of the best hitting teams in baseball. I think they'll start to cool. I tweeted this yesterday or 2 days ago when the Rockies hit a walk-off against the Dodgers. Does anybody want to play at Coors Field? Like nobody wants to face this Rockies team. And we're seeing the Rockies as minus 173 favorites. Gonzalez versus Marquez. Total in this game is 11. Now, you made a point about the Detroit being 44-51. Did you know Seattle is 50-44?
No, I didn't actually know that.
They're 3 games back from wild card. Like they're 6.5. They are 6.5 games back of Houston. And they're plus 160 on the road. I know Marco Gonzalez has not been good. He's been kind of broken this year, and Germán Marquez has been very good at home. But the Rockies are minus 173 favorites against a team that's 50-44. What do you make of this game?
But what's the Rockies' record at home here?
The Rockies at home this year are 32-19. They are 9-34 on the road. They've actually been pretty good on the road. I think they were like 6-32, so I think they've gone 3-2 in their last 5.
Yeah, the reason this number is so high is you could not end up with a different trend line of pitchers here. Germán Marquez has been incredibly good. He pretty rarely gives up more than 2 runs in pitching in that stadium. I don't understand it, but he's doing it, and he's done it for the last couple of years, pitching better in Coors Field.
They're all doing it. Literally every single one of their pitchers pitches much better at home. It's some type of sorcery.
Yeah, it makes no sense. 3.36 ERA, 3.65 expected, 3.27 FIP. The strikeouts are decent. The walks are decent. It's not like he's really blowing them away. In terms of that, he's just his last 4 starts. I think he has 3 walks. Barrel rate is 3%. That'll play. That'll play anywhere.
That'll play in Coors too.
You can pitch on the moon with 3% barrel rate. And that's what he's done. Marco Gonzalez on the flip side of this, 5.88 ERA is lucky. Like his other metrics are worse, believe it or not. Expected ERA 8.36. FIP 6.10. He had a really bad start to the season, which really inflated his numbers, and he came back off the injured list and was okay. He has since been absolutely horrid. I think, if anything, this Rockies number, I think, is short. I think you could still play Colorado. I played over, though. Issue being that that number went from 10.5 to 11 juiced to the over. I made this game like 12, but at 11, just the over, I don't know that it's really playable anymore. So if you really want to bet this game for some reason, I think there's value in Colorado just because the pitching discrepancy is so high, and this Colorado team at home is not the same team. And I generally don't buy into this, but we have years and years and years of data that say like Colorado outperforms at home. They have like almost double home field advantage for whatever reason. It makes sense. It's a very unique place to play. The pitchers have to adapt their games to pitch well in Coors Field. The hitters have to adapt their launch angles and things to hit well in Coors Field. And teams coming in don't get to. It's almost like they get to play a different sport, right?
Yeah.
It's like they get to go play cricket today, and they've got to go beat a cricket team. It's really hard to do, but it also makes them absolutely horrid on the road. So I guess it kind of evens out. But on these home games, I think there are unique advantages to pitching in Coors Field for these Rockies guys. Well, however they figured it out. Like I said, Marquez conveniently hasn't given up more than 2 runs in his last 5 starts. He gave up 8 earned at Cincinnati, which is kind of funny. His 8 earned start was on the road. Granted, that's a small park as well against a decent offense. But even prior to that, 1, 2, 3, 4 starts. So what did I say? 5, 4, 8, 8 out of 9 starts. He's given up 2 or less.
Yeah.
And has only given up 2 runs once. So 1 or less in 6 or 7 of 9 starts. He's given up 1 earned run or less. That's pretty substantial. I think German Marquez is very good, especially when you consider the fact that if he pitched anywhere else, conceivably his ERA would be better, right? Like it would conceivably be better if he pitched somewhere else that wasn't Coors Field. So I do like the Rockies here. Like I said, I did play the over, but it got hit so hard. I don't really think there's any value left there. So get into the bet pack early, leadsportsbetting.com, and you can get all the plays in the morning and before we sit here and tell you about all the value you missed out on.
Yeah. Marquez, 258 WOBA at home this year. That's pretty just incredible for that field. That's in 70 innings. Like that's getting up in their sample size where you're kind of getting relevant. 41 innings away from home, 295 WOBA. Now I know he had that 8 run. That's probably skewing that a little bit. But like again, the Rockies pitchers at home this year, 319 WOBA at home, and on the road they have. Let me pull it up. A 346. So like pretty substantial change there. I don't know, like you said,
if you had to guess, I hate putting people on the spot. If you had to guess Marco Gonzalez's barrel rate, what do you think it is?
Oh, I forget. We talked. The only reason I think I might be close on this isn't it like 60% or something?
It's 16%.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I think we had him on opening line like 2 weeks ago or something, so I knew it was up in that range. But like, I think this goes into the home field conversation with Coors and why it's been so much better. Is like they're doing more research than anybody because they play 81 games in this environment. So like they probably have got like, yo, how do we figure out how to get like just as much as teams are doing with spin rates? They're probably doing like, okay, what pitches work in our environment versus others? Like, and we're seeing that even their horrible pitchers are like much better at home. Like it's like Chichi Gonzalez had like a 390 WOBA at home, but then had like a 420.
Right. Does the same thing.
Right. There's something they figured something out. And I think it's probably going to be like we talk about how they have more home field advantage than the average. Like it's probably going to get worse because the more and more research that they find on this and the more and more data that's out there with technology growing, they're probably going to get further with this. So I'm mid-price on this game, and I have not liked Marquez. Now my model has caught up to Marquez because I feel like I always faded him, and he's been fantastic. So I do think if anything, there is value on Colorado. I'm with you with that agreement. Jeffrey Sweeney wants to know Colorado team total over 6 at plus 100.
I would say that.
I would honestly probably say that's the better route than like playing the full over, or if you don't want to lay the juice.
I mean, Colorado's bullpen could give up like 10 runs just because of the absolute bullshit going on in terms of bullpens in general, but especially at this field with that particular bullpen. That might be the better play. Now, those aren't always available in the morning or whatever. I have a hard time. I would say expected runs for them has to be around 7 today. I just don't see how it's not with if they're going to barrel up 20% of the balls in play against Marco Gonzalez in that park. I just find it hard to believe.
Even if they barrel 10 with that park, like there's gonna be some runs scored.
I talked about this. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend in baseball, and I bet one yesterday in the Pirates in Arizona over. It didn't go my way, but I am finding a little bit of value in, especially early morning market, where we have two really dog shit offenses against two really dog shit pitchers. This is like half of that case, in that the Rockies offense is terrible and they're going against a terrible pitcher in a great park. Yeah. That offense is going to probably score some runs against Marco Gonzalez because he's just really bad.
There's a baseline to where
there's a really weird drop off in baseball the last few years in starting pitching that I don't think we've really seen, where like there just aren't many teams that have good 3, 4, 5 starters, right? Like it just doesn't happen. So,
and I think going with that, the home run, like launch angle thing, like you get beat worse, I guess, in a way. Like, you know, like you're giving up a home run with 2 guys on, all of a sudden, you know, they have 3 runs on you in a heartbeat. So I do agree with that. I think the bad pitchers tend to just blow up like horrifically. I'm thinking of Carlos Martinez because he's the blow up king right now. Although he was fine, but he's on the, I think he's done for the year. They just put him on the, I think he like tore a ligament in his thumb. I don't know. Best bet. What do you got?
Yeah, it would have been, I guess it could have been that Rockies over. That's moved. I'm going to go Twins. Twins plus
Twins. Yeah, I was thinking them as well, but I'll give something different to be different. I'm going to go, Tigers number moves. What's the Tigers number currently at?
It was like what? 18?
Yeah, I went to minus 120. I'm just going to go something different. I think the Tigers at that, like, if you can get like below 120.
There's some 18s out there. Yeah.
Or the Orioles. You know what? Just go with the Tigers if you can get under 120. If you can't, Orioles at like plus 180 or better. That's what's available. But
I also like that. I also like that Tigers side too. I talked about that. Bro.
Yeah, we're in agreement. I think we're getting John Means enough, so I think we like that. Skubal has been better for the Tigers, so we'll take them with their platoon advantage against Dane Dunning today. As always, we were on Twitch at Elite Betting. Hit the follow button. Elite Sports Network on YouTube. If you missed today's episode, you're tuning in right now. You can go rewind any part of the game. We have the blurbs up there. You can kind of skip through and watch our videos or listen to the whole thing, whichever you want to do.
If you're looking for a game, give it a couple of minutes. YouTube will post, and then these banners will kind of be able to allow you to fast forward if you're looking for a particular game. I know that not everyone probably wants to listen to us blabber for an hour. So if you're going to a game or you're watching a game and you want to bet on it, we at least give some opinions on most games here.
Yep. And tomorrow, opening line, Frank and Paulie are back. They're not on today doing golf. They're doing golf tomorrow. So they'll be on breaking down the golf slate for this week. Any final words from you, Frank, on today's slate?
No, check us out tomorrow. And like I said, we're an easier, better places to watch. Maybe Twitch for some folks, maybe YouTube if you're watching, listening at work, whatever it is. YouTube will allow you to just have the background noise on, so you can just listen instead of watching, if that's easier. Yeah.
Like I said, EliteSportsBetting.com. Head over to the bet pack. Tons of bets today. A couple of
and if you do hit that subscribe button on YouTube on the Elite Sports Network button, you'll get an alert when we go live, because not every day it works out to where we can play. Some of these slates have been a little bit screwed up, in that a third of the lines were out, and there's really no point in doing a video about one play or something like that between both of us. So if we are live, you will get an alert to say, hey, these guys are live. And like I said, on YouTube, it is a little bit easier to watch.
Yep. Head over to EliteSportsBetting.com. Bet pack. Some lines moved today. You can get some good value there. Plays posted before 9 a.m. Ton of plays usually posted by 9 a.m. So head over there for the whole crew's plays. For Austin, or for Frank, sorry, I am Austin. Frankie and Paulie back tomorrow doing golf. Opening line presented by EliteSportsBetting.com. We will see you tomorrow.